Hello, this is week 6 in our writing class, our week 6 discussion. Um, this week we're talking about Ann Curzon's TED Talk, What Makes a Word Real. Um, Actually, it made me think a lot about language in a way that I haven't really before. I always thought that dictionaries were the kind of like the final say on the words that are real, I guess, and what aren't. But Curzon points out that dictionaries don't actually decide anything, they just record the way people are already using a language. That's interesting to me because I never really questioned where words were coming from before. I guess I just assumed that there was an official process for deciding what counts as a word. I am looking at notes just so you guys know. I'm not good at remembering what I'm talking about. Uh, ADHD, I guess. But another thing that stood out was how much everyday people influence our language. A word a word doesn't have to be in the dictionary to be real. If enough people use it, it's already real. I know this because I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and I learn something new every day. um, so things we use like Google as a verb, or even like the slang of selfie, or the weirdness they're doing. I don't know what Ohio Riz is, but I've been hearing that nonstop. Still don't know what it means. A little embarrassing that I'm not up to date on these things, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I want to be. Um, but they weren't always considered real words. But some of them, not all, have became official because they kept being used by people, by kids, by teenagers. Um, and it makes me wonder what words we're using now that might be in the dictionary in 10 or 20 years. Or it also made me think about how I write. I definitely write differently depending on where I'm writing or what I'm writing, whether it's for school or work or texting or I feel like I've talked about this before, but just everything in my life is so different. Like my work and my like photography work, and then my nonprofit, and then school, and I have to write completely different for all of these things. And I feel like it's just different ways of communicating. And I think a lot of people get too caught up in writing the correct way or the right way when really language is always changing. What sounds right now might be outdated in a few years or a year or a couple months as things move on so quickly. Another thing that she talked about was how people tend to judge new words or slang words wrong or not proper, as I do. But eventually those words become normal. I don't see Ohio Riz or whatever that means becoming normal because I'm still confused about it, but it's normal for a certain age group, I guess. I think it made me think about how older generations sometimes don't like the way younger people talk or text. And it's always been the case, really. All of the generations add something to a new language, and that's why it keeps evolving and growing. Overall, I think that the biggest takeaway for me is that language isn't as rigid as I thought it was. Um, it's constantly evolving, and that's actually a good thing. instead of stressing about whether something is correct or if it's more important to focus on whether it actually gets, or that something is more important to focus on and make sure that it actually just gets my point across. I'm looking forward to listening to everyone else's videos. I also, so when I think about language, I think about our language, the Chinook language, Chinook Wawa. So I have been learning that for years now, but getting back into it, and it's so wild how many words mean the exact same thing. And I know that it's the same in Spanish, and it's such a huge like culture shock, I guess. I'm not sure if that's the correct terminology. Sorry, I'm very tired, but yeah, it's just interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what you all say. Have a great week.